welcome back to Study With Additti. My name is Additti and this channel is dedicated to revision tips and tricks, along with much more, to help make your schooling life a whole lot easier. Today I'm going to be talking about how to revise psychology. If you watch my GCSE results video, you'll actually know that I have not done psychology. And if you watch my summer reading videos, you'll also know that I have not done psychology A-level. So for this video, my friend actually gave me everything I needed to know for psychology, GCSE and A-level because she's done both. So I'm sorry that I can't give you like genuine and proper advice from myself, but I think this advice is just as good and maybe even better. So I've got a load of notes from her, so I'm just going to be going through them in an order that I think is best, and we'll just get started really. Firstly, I'm going to cover GCSE, then I'm going to go to A-level, just because it makes most sense like that in my head. So the first thing she said is get your research methods on point. And this is before you start looking at any of the topics. That's because research methods are going to be referred to everywhere from AO1 and the AO2, which is content, and the AO3, which is evaluation. So to be honest, from my perspective, it does make sense. If you don't know your research methods, you're not really going to understand the rest of it. So just to elaborate on that, she said for research methods, her advice is to learn all your ethics, self-report methods, graphs and experimental designs, etc. thoroughly by making posters or flashcards, and then you have to practice. Practicing for any subject I think is key. So now for the actual topics. She suggested that if you go through the topics in order of the textbook, it makes the most sense because a lot of them refer back to each other. So say for example topic 1 refers to topic 4, and say if you started from topic 4, you're not going to have the understanding of topic 1 first. So you really need those links between topics, and she thinks that the best way to get those links is to go in order of the textbook. So the way she revised was using flashcards to summarise the theories and the studies, and then the evaluation. So she actually managed to use 6 flashcards for each topic, just by extracting the main and key information. So I think that's definitely a method that you should try. 6 flashcards per topic is really good because it just reduces the amount of flashcards that you have to go to, and therefore the time you have to spend revising that subject. Another thing she said is use diagrams. Sometimes diagrams can really help in psychology, such as when learning about the multi-store model of memory or the social learning theory. It also really helps when trying to understand classical conditioning. So to be honest, diagrams with anything, visual learning is really good because your brain basically takes a picture of that, and if you can remember that picture during the exam, it's really beneficial. Another thing she's recommended is knowing the approaches in psychology, such as behaviourist, cognitive, etc., as these can gain really easy application marks. I'm sorry if you can hear like rain in the background. I think it's actually hail, so I'm really sorry about that like background noise. Okay, the next thing is for questions. So for 12-mark questions in GCSE, you don't need to think too much about setting an essay out as such, because I mean it's GCSE, it's less hard, I guess, it's more basic. You don't need an intro or a conclusion, and to be honest, if you do that, it's going to waste your time. Time in an exam is the most crucial thing that you can have, and you can't get it back. Instead of doing that intro and conclusion, try and just jump straight into the question. For example, if it's like a describe and evaluate question, go straight into the 2 paragraphs on describing the study, and that way you're going to get your AO1 and AO2 marks. Those are content marks. And then if you do another 2 paragraphs evaluating the study, that way you're getting your AO3 marks for evaluation. If you aim to get 3 marks per paragraph, you'll end up just getting 12 out of 12. So it's quite simple when you think about it. You've just got to make sure that your paragraphs are decent enough. So that's it for the GCSE tips. Now let's move on to A-level. She just wanted to clarify, she's in the same year as me, so year 12. She's only been doing psychology A-level for however many months. We've been in year 12, probably like 7, something like that. So obviously her information and her knowledge about revision of the subject is still limited, so just bear that in mind. So again, one big tip, as with GCSE, is going over research methods because they are so important to apply and they are just such a big part of the exam, so make sure you really have learned them. So now just to go over like the number of marks available to you at AS and A-level. So at AS, which some schools still actually do, there are 12 marks available like with GCSE, but it's harder to get those 12 marks because you need more detail. And then for A-level, it's actually 16 marks. So to prepare yourself, what she recommends doing is making essay plans, and there's a certain textbook that she has which is really good for this, because on the left hand side it has the AO1 and AO2 content, so just the content in general, and then on the right hand side it has the AO3 content, so the evaluation and the evaluative points. And if you combine all of these in your essay plan, you are going to maximize the number of marks that you can get. That way you're revising smarter because you know exactly what to put in each essay plan, and provided that you execute that essay plan well in the exam, you can get full marks. So for AS students, setting out your 12 markers should be 1 paragraph on the AO1, AO2, so the content, and then 3 paragraphs on evaluation, because as we said before, you need more detail than you do at GCSE, meaning that you need more evaluation, because evaluation is harder than just fact recall. So having these 3 paragraphs will mean that you have more detail, and that is what the examiners are going to look for. For A-level students, your 16 marker requires 4 evaluation points instead of 3. So make sure you do prepare for this. Make sure you do have different points so that you can really squeeze out the highest number of marks that you can. And again, for the research methods, make sure you use those as well as ethics in your evaluation for easy marks. For evaluation, the studies that you use can actually be used across topics, so try and plan it out effectively. So if one study can be used for topic 2, but it also can be used for topic 8, try and make sure you learn that same one. It will just prevent you having to learn loads and loads and loads of studies. If you can make sure that you use one study for as many topics as you can, make sure it's still relevant though, it's going to be a lot easier and it's going to minimise the amount you'll have to learn. Another point, almost adding to that last point, is make sure that you identify what things you actually need to know in the exam and what you don't. In other words, what's on the specification and what's not. Textbooks and other resources, try and go a bit beyond the specification, especially with AS and A-level, just because you usually need a lot more than the specification. But even then, if you can filter down what you need to know with some extra things, then it's going to be helpful and you're going to study smarter. And one last point is know your definitions. That's a really good thing you can do, because in a 12 marker or a 16 marker, you can just throw out a definition and you'll get 1 mark at least. Like, it may not sound like much, but 1 mark can take you over your grade boundary. So make sure that you do know your definitions. Again, in that textbook that she has, there are certain keywords at the back which you can put on Memrise, Quizlet, or even paper flashcards, whatever you think is best for you. But yeah, there's a lot more compared to GCSE, and they're a bit more complicated as well, so knowing those really shows the examiner that you put in the time and that you know what you're talking about. You can make like a list at the front of your folder, so every time you open up your folder you're looking at 1 keyword at least. So like the repetition of looking again and again will make sure that you remember them. Also test yourself or get someone else to test you. That way you'll really know if you understand all the keywords and if you remember them. So that's all I've got to say on psychology, GCSE and A-level. So I hope that helped you. I'm sorry I can't give it any advice of my own, but I think the advice she's given is really, really good. So honestly, do try some of it if you are doing psychology, GCSE or A-level. If you haven't already subscribed, please do subscribe and hit the bell icon while you're at it. Thank you for watching, and goodbye!